ghostly mark. Cobwebs twine and shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks. Marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silence sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers in crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lady Red of the Black Pants Legion, and hopefully everything is working the way that it is supposed to today. Good news, I'm not being left to cause chaos on my own. I do have a lictor. Say hi, lictor.
Say hi, Lictor. Hey there.
And
Oh
hopefully
yeah.
sound balance is all behaving itself. I see some of the familiar faces in chat. Hello, Wilf. Hello, Introspective. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody has had a nice week. I don't have a whole pile of dogs on me as yet. They're currently out at the park with Aiden, and he might join us once he gets back. We will see what happens. They're currently running around chasing tennis balls. Hello, Zork. It is, in fact, you. And Ramshackle.
Yes.
I wish my week was
Hello.
slightly better. Mood, Ramshackle. I do hope that it improves over the weekend for you. I'm currently talking to you guys from the floor still. It's another week. I still have no furniture. We still do not have a delivery date. It's a time, but I'm here. I am here.
Hey, Eric. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's like floor pills, but it's floor Lady Red.
Yes, you have Floor Lady Red today, which is, the Temu.com version of Competent Lady Red. And Competent Lady Red isn't even that competent, so, And we have Samurai.
It's just this only shows you what team orders look like.
So I think we might have, if somebody posts something in chat, do I have some degree of chat working today? I don't know. It might be, it might not. And Zork is floored by the news. I'm so glad to hear it. No, it doesn't look like
The
chat's
puns.
working. I'm not tinkering with that until I get my furniture and I can sit at a proper desk. Oh, Samurai, I just read what you actually wrote and out, leave, go. That took me straight back to elementary school and sitting on the floor in the assembly hall singing hymns. And on a Thursday morning, oh God, what was it we always sang on Thursdays? But our teacher who knew how to play the piano was busy on Thursday mornings, so Mrs. Williams would always sub in, and she only knew how to play the one song, so we'd always do that one on Thursdays. I can't remember what it was. Oh, suddenly I'm 5 years old again.
We little red. We little red Lincoln. Just so, what have you been up to this last week? How have you been doing?
I have done some work over the last week. I've managed to get a little bit of art done. I did have a bit of a panic 2-3 days ago because I turned my Cintiq on and it was broken. And my screen was just futzing and flickering, and it was, oh God. And then I realized the cable just needed replacing. So I have a new cable. And that means I should be able to finish a commission this afternoon. I sound roboty on Lichter's end. That may be just connection issues. We will see. You sound fine for me at the minute. We'll see how it goes, and I'm sure chat will let us know if we continue to have problems.
Yes, I have been replaced by a Necron.
Lichter is clipping at times. I wonder if it might be. Give me just a moment. Let's adjust that. That might fix it. We will see. Because I turned Lichter up a lot last week because he was very quiet, and I wonder if that's causing the issue. So I've just turned him down a little bit.
I've just been replaced by a Necron. I've switched out from the Tyranids.
So we no longer have a Lichter. We have a Cron.
Yes, we now have an immortal. What would be the Necron equivalent of a Licto? I think they do have at least one ambush unit.
I just suggest you become Trazon and just stroll around the universe trolling people.
Only if I get a dapper hat and a dashing stick.
I am fine with you having a dapper hat and a stick. Yes, a very fancy looking cane. Yeah, there are the flayed ones. We could have a flayed one for Lichter, but
I don't want to be flayed.
Oh no, you're not. The Necron flayed units flay their enemies and then just sort of wear their skins on their backs. So you're not the flayed one. You're wearing them.
So I'm Hannibal Lecter?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Trazon has undoubtedly collected several hats and sticks. Wilf is right. That's what he does.
That is true. Okay. Dapper hat, swallowtail coat, skeleton, stick, walking around, filling up the British Museum, aka Trazon's trove.
Yeah, which probably includes some Primarchs, because why not?
I mean, at the very least, it contains some Primarch pizza.
I'm not going to go and dig up the Primarch pizza advert. Not today. Not while I'm sitting on the floor, reclined under a coffee table, just doing my best. It's a miracle I'm even here this week. To be entirely honest with you guys, I am unbelievably stressed. I have been dissociating this week. We're supposed to have Mo visiting next weekend. We still have no furniture. We've got a Battletech promo thing that we're supposed to be working on, and I still have no furniture. I've just been drafted for a second Battletech promo thing, and I still have no furniture. I'm fine. I swear, I'm fine.
I mean, I believe you, but I also hear a question rising from the crowd. About what's Red's favorite drink, and how do we supply you a few bottles of it?
Honestly, the thing that I wish I had the most at the minute, I can't get over here. When I went over to visit one of my wonderful boys, when I went over to see Drake for his wedding, where I was the best man, despite having boobs, it was a wonderful time. I went over, and the night before he got married, we were sat drinking toffee apple flavoured cider, and it was delicious and it was powerful and we had a riotously good time, and I wish I could get hold of some of it over here, but it doesn't exist in the States and you can't import it, so
You can't import it?
no, not easily, because it is like a little British place that makes it, and so it's just not easily available, and it's not the sort of thing that you can just stick in a box and send over, because it's alcohol and import duties, and it's just a nightmare. I wish I had some of that. Other than that, I am a bit partial to Chambord and Asti. That's one of my favorites to have to drink.
I don't know any of the words you just said. I feel so boorish.
So Chambord
Okay.
is raspberry liqueur, and Asti is like a sweet fizzy champagne type thing. So
Oh,
it makes a nice. It's not too sweet, but not too tart kind of drink. It's like a Kir Royale, but with
oh,
raspberry instead of
gotcha.
blackberry.
Oh,
Wilf, we have had a look around some of the secondhand stores here and picked up a few bits that are tiding us over, but the problem is that we have all the furniture that we want coming, and we won't have places to put stuff, and for all I know, my stuff will turn up tomorrow. We know it's left Florida. They just won't give us a date for when it's due to be here. And it's been over a week, so tomorrow my furniture could be here. It could also not turn up until the 18th of August, because that's the latest delivery date that they've given us. And we have no idea, and they just won't tell us. We've contacted them so many times, and they're just like, oh, well, we'll see if we can get you an estimated date, and just nothing. So, it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine.
it fizzles. It fizzles into the void.
Yes. The upside, though, is that I do have my very nice kitchen appliances that we installed before we left here 5 years ago. They're all working perfectly. We have proper plates and bowls and mugs, so I can at least have a cup of tea in the morning, and I can cook nice things. And yesterday I sat and made an absolute crap ton of potato skins and threw most of them into the freezer. Um, so yeah,
Okay.
we've got some nice things going on.
I made spring rolls today.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
And
I do enjoy
yes,
some spring rolls.
yes,
Yeah, as long as I
yes, with
have
some
tea, the
chili and
rest will
nails.
work itself out. You are right, Wilf. If I don't have my tea, I start getting the urge to colonize things, but I have been having my tea, so we're all okay.
Yes, yes. Don't, don't do that. I mean, you know what? Ad, pro advice: finish colonizing your own house. How about that?
That is the goal at the moment. I have been stalking
Very
around the
nice.
house every morning going, oh, this needs doing, and that needs doing, and that needs cutting back, and we need a
Oh,
flag. We've got a flagpole out front and no flag on it, so that needs fixing.
oh no. Eh,
At some
that,
point, I
that
need to take a Black Pants flag down to the beach and get a photo of the beagles with the Black Pants flag. I think that would be nice.
and all I'm thinking is we need to Photoshop Eddie Izzard onto that photo for the entire bit with the flags.
Yes.
Anyway, before we float further down the Thames,
Yes.
how about we talk about Shoal?
I think that's a really good idea. That's what we're supposed to be here for. There's been some lovely movement in the auxiliary over the last week, discussing Shoal things. So I do want to come round to some of that, especially as Wilf had some very on point things to say this morning. So I think we'll come round to that. I do have some. If I bring up the right window, I do have some more of our cities written up. I only managed a couple of thousand words this week, but it's but better than 0 words. So I'm taking it as a win. Taking it as a win. I do have our terrestrial cities now written up. Those are done. And you guys can let me know what you think. And then I think what we might do is go through each of the cities we currently have written up and make some little notes about, standards of living and talk about slums, because that was going to be our homework. I do still need to ping you on your city's introspective. I have one of them fully written up. furthest point. I haven't finished doing the other one yet, so that I can just send you both at once to get your approval and see what tweaks are needed. It will come. I will try and get it to you after stream today. I've got 2 things that I want to do this afternoon once I'm done here. One is I have a profile picture commission to finish, which shouldn't take me long. It's very adorable and it's not huge. And then the second one is I want to get those bits to you so that you can have a look at them and they can go in for next week. So I will give that to you this afternoon. And if I don't, just start yelling at me in DMs. Hurl insults and shoes and whatever else you feel like until I give you the thing.
Sounds unreasonable. Don't do that.
It's going in the book.
Just don't.
I'm in the book of grudges, guys. I'm in trouble.
Hey, Red, why? Why into the book? Why? We've talked about this. No.
But I'm so good at getting into trouble. I try really hard.
I noticed.
I'm a professional.
It has been noted. There you have it, gentlemen. Lady Red's a warlock, proficient in bad life choices.
Oh, that's technically Aiden's thing. Bad decisions are his whole thing. That's his catchphrase. Mine is breasting brutally down the stairs.
I mean, he is an officer, so as an NCO, I have to agree with that statement, but I don't want to.
The world might be in big trouble now that he's no longer active and he's gone into the reserves. He's got an even higher chance of getting promoted again.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Because he's got his
Avoid.
warfare pin as well, because he did, all of his stuff while he was inactive. Quite a few of the people in the reserves, in the stuff that he does, his job role, quite a few of the people who are in the reserves don't have a warfare pin because they won't have had to go through all of the stuff that he's done. So he's got a warfare pin, which makes him very promotable. And apparently somebody was joking with him that with that pin and the experience that he's got, if he stays in long enough, he could make it to Admiral in the reserves. And he's like, no, I refuse. Don't be so ridiculous.
Admiral Aiden has a ring to it. The amount of taunts he will get will be infinite.
You're only allowed to salute when he turns up if you do something ridiculous like the Rimmer salute from Red Dwarf. He won't take it seriously either. He does not feel like an officer and a gentleman at the best of times. Mercury Alpha says, my group has an upcoming Kickstarter for Shadows over Soul 2. Are you interested in a PDF of the Quick Start Guide? I'm always interested in seeing things people have put together if you want to throw that my way. Is there an emoji for the full Rimmer? I don't know. But,
What's a full Rimmer?
So, are you familiar with the TV show Red Dwarf?
No.
It was a British comedy show that was out in the 90s, I think it was, starring Craig Charles. And it was kind of a send-up of the sci-fi genre. And the whole conceit of it was that a mining ship called Red Dwarf had gone out to do a mining run. And through a series of shenanigans, one of the main characters ends up in stasis for bringing a cat on board. That he's not supposed to have. So they put him in stasis until they get back, so he's not earning pay, etc., because he's done something he's not supposed to do. While he's in stasis, the entire ship basically has a nuclear incident. And the ship just continues drifting through space for about 3,000 years until, the levels are safe enough that the ship's onboard AI can wake the main character that you're following up again. And so he's on this ship with a hologram of the person that he hates the most because it's the only person who'll keep him sane, one Arnold J. Rimmer, a sentient life form that has descended from his cat, just called Cat, and of course you've got the main character himself. And it's very funny. It was very enjoyable. They end up picking up a robot who's also absolutely hilarious. The onboard AI is ridiculous. It's very British comedy as well. It's very built in that style. And their swear word for everybody in that was smegheads. And Arnold Rimmer because he is a stick up the ass loser, but with aspirations of grandeur, he has a very over the top salute that he does to his superiors. And it's just ridiculous. It's deliberately over the top, and it's the Rimmer salute, and that's what we're talking
It's
about.
it sounds like the British comedy version of Farscape.
Sort of, yes. In many ways, some of this was contemporaneous. But once we're done watching Helsing and have run out of other things that we're due to watch with you, perhaps we will find and watch Red Dwarf, because I think you'll get a kick out of it, Lictor.
Okay, I mean we'll do that before the heat death of the universe. Then
Yes, that sounds good. Rail, you have walked into one of my rambles rather than my rants, where somebody got me talking about Red Dwarf. I blame Wilf.
yes, Rail, yes, Rail. This is what you stepped into. I hope you're still on for the game on Sunday.
Wolf has now described the salute, and he is correct. You hold your arm directly out in front of you, circle your hand clockwise 5 times, and then bring it up to your forehead in a normal salute. That is the Rimmer salute. It's very stupid.
People salute in weird ways.
Yes.
We had
Yes,
the
Craig Charles did go on to host Robot Wars. You are correct.
yay, Rail is up for the game on Sunday.
Awesome.
Very good.
Awesome.
I will. They need to continue their journey through the weird and the weirdo.
Absolutely, because he's been doing some fun
Yes.
stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to see a bunch of gnomes tampering with an ancient golem in the middle of the road?
Nothing can possibly go
I mean,
wrong.
never, ever will it ever go wrong. How could possibly? How could you even fathom? No, everything will be fine. All of our Hell Knights are going to be good guys and are going to earn their salvation like good mess models.
Farscape did take a fair bit of inspiration from Red Dwarf. O'Bannon mentioned that in an interview years ago. Well, there you go. Yes. So, yes,
There you have
very
it.
much in the same
Very,
vein. All
very
right.
good.
Shoal.
All
We're
right.
supposed to do Shoal things, or at least writing related stuff, just on the vague chance that somebody new wanders into stream and is like, what's going on over here then?
Rail asked what's going on. Come on,
Oh,
chat.
the
Tell
chat mark
Rail what's
is
going
showing
on.
up faintly in the middle of the screen. Okay, let me see then. I believe that's going to be coming through. Nope, it's
Come on,
not
chat. Tell Rail what's
there.
going on.
Let me have a look. Is it something? No, it's not going to be on there. It must be coming through because I've done this on Streamlabs and I just need to turn Streamlabs up a bit. So let me go to Streamlabs or Stream Elements even, not Streamlabs. That's a different thing. I'm fine,
Witness
chat. I
chat.
swear. I'm fine.
Witness chat as OBS is promoting the well-being of our Lady Red. How do technology advancements makes the operation of telecommunication ever more reliable and ever more productive?
Says opacity
Everything is fine.
100%. Hmm.
So many crabs. I'll have you know, crab crowd, that that 007's martini glass will have a crab on it.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move chat just down in the middle at the bottom. I will have to figure out the opacity thing later because I cannot easily find the setting right now. So I will tinker with that and we'll see what happens. Oh no, there's dogs. Hello. Oh goodness, I have been anchored. They are back. Hello, baby. Did you have a lovely time? Did you have the best time? Or maybe I'd not come and tell us about it in a minute. Yes. Oh my goodness, dog. Oh my goodness, dog. Help!
No help is coming. I am sorry. You're on your own. Well, I didn't stare, but you know what I
Pets have been administered. I have just fluffled all over Anka. She just came and jumped all over me to tell me she's had a nice time. So
Very good.
How many files were lost in the move this time? We don't know yet. We still have our stuff back. We did bring all of our important paperwork with us, though, so we know we've at least got that. Dogs must be rewarded for puppy crimes. I think puppy crimes in themselves are their own reward, especially if Anka has anything to say about it.
Anka has nothing to say about it. She will bark loudly, however.
If you can hear her, that's Ceres in the background at the minute, who is having a borf. Because it is lunchtime and father is not delivering the food fast enough.
I see. Well,
Alrighty, so my plan for this week. I want to have a look at the cities, go over some of that, go over what I've written in the last week, add in any notes that we think we need to add in, talk about slums for each of our cities and what that looks like. I mean, we said slums last week, but I think what we're just going to sort of look at overall is quality of living, especially as Wilf brought up something in the auxiliary chat that I think is very on point. So we'll probably start with that in a minute and then go from there. And then if there's, if we get that finished before we run out of time and you guys want to talk about anything else, we'll do that for a bit. We might finish early. We'll see how it goes. And we'll just kind of, have another chill one this week because I'm streaming to you from the living room floor. and it just is what it is. So if I click over to the orcs, I'm going to read a post Wolf made this morning because I think it sums up quite a lot of ideas people had and led to some interesting talk. And I think, chat will have some weighing in to do on this. So Wolf said, while he was busy working this morning, while it was surprisingly zen, since we've agreed that Shoal is not a grimdark setting, I think we can rule out 2000 AD /cyberpunk /Warhammer 40k style environments deliberately designed to be unpleasant for the denizens. We can also rule out a utopian approach like in Ian Banks' culture novels because then there wouldn't be slums. So, just like real life, I think we'd get places that were at least intended to be pleasant to live in, but done on the cheap. It should be remembered that, in real life, a lot of horrible places were designed to be pleasant to live in. After that, it kind of depends on the environment and the species. Shelled species may well regard an actual home as a luxury item, preferring to rent a lock-up for their stuff and just hunker down in their shells to sleep. I doubt the whales would need or want to be trapped inside, and the cephalopods would probably just look for a crack in a wall somewhere. For the others, in mining areas, either mineral or coral, worked-out mines that have been subdivided with cheap materials would probably be the choice. Burrows in the sandbeds would suit in the shallows. Clusters of floating balls just big enough to sleep in would work for free floating areas. Surface settlements would probably look surprisingly mundane for species evolved to deal with the radiation, but I suspect that access to water parks or swimming pools would be regarded as a shoaly right. Deep water species who have moved to the surface might have more of a problem, would likely try to live in underground properties or embedded in cliffs to get some shelter from the rads and avoid having to mainline iodine pills. And I thought that was a really good way of looking at it, which is to take into account the unique body plans that we're working with. Because, yeah, I can absolutely see a podlin who is, not affluent and maybe down on his luck, having a small locker or rental unit or storage unit somewhere and just sleeping in their own shell. I mean, that's half the point of having a shell for creatures that have them. And for our cephalonids, just finding a crack that's the right size to live in. And I imagine that can lead to some interesting squatting situations when we've got literally squid people hanging about. Wilf says in chat at the minute, I picture something like the tower blocks in Peckham. They were designed to be nice, but they were designed well. Yes, and of course, the people that move in and the culture that communities cultivate can have a big impact on the nature of the area that they live in. I just thought that was a very sort of on the nose, is that to look at it from that point of view.
It's a very good one. Yeah. No, I'm thinking hard about any notes that are missing, and absolutely no notes.
Well,
10 out of 10.
There were some responses to that over in the Orcs that I also thought were really good from Blackfire and Ed and Erica, and we had Blackfire Blackfire was initially speculating on Shoal commie blocks on the land areas. Cheap but serviceable places, more or less. Not necessarily brutalist style, but not Art Nouveau either. And Ed said, I suspect something like a commie block, a completely artificial environment with consistent construction, might actually be on the higher end of Shoal living standards. Given the violent nature of the moon's geology, weather patterns and biosphere, something that is completely built, constantly strong, rather than partially reliant on potentially unstable geological features might be a draw for some. This assumes the builders of the housing did a better job than nature instead of just making it look more sturdy. I would expect some sort of biological component to a Shoal commie block, grown much like a very neat garden or a hedgerow. And yeah, I think that strong architecture would be something that is appealing to Shoal, or at least to some Shoal. There'll always be, people who are on both sides. But the idea of sturdy construction that just lasts, because we are working with a world that is more violent than our own in terms of its just Mother Nature. I thought that was
I
quite a good thought
uh,
too.
I think I'm joining late to the discussion, but um, surely construction, insofar it happens,
Hmm.
tends to be very land hugging. They don't build, unless you're taking the crustaceans, they don't build very tall because if you think about it, one of the main problems is streams. You have a huge problem building high in an environment where violent streams are happening, and this puts an incredible amount of strain on any building material. Now, we are doing a little bit of a sci-fi fantasy, so
Hmm.
yes to sweeping
Yeah, I think
motions, but
sweeping is going to be a necessity for certain elements because you need to make things streamlined. Because, like you said, the water current is incredibly powerful, especially when you have shifting tides and all of that sort of thing going on. Being able to streamline that force so it's not just ripping your buildings apart when you're underwater is going to be really important. But on the land,
exactly.
you can do things differently.
Yeah, I mean, I I would go on to add and say I don't think that strong and sturdy are not all woods. I also don't think that flexible. I think that streamlined
Yeah.
is the world. A showy architect, whether they like it or not, needs to understand the sort of forces that are going to be operating on the construction. And digging offers some protection out of it, but building in layers and in a manner that allows external forces to uh, be deflected
I,
off of the construction
I feel
is
like
is
quite a
important.
few of our underwater cities might well have very large sort of ring walls around the outside, whose purpose isn't, to keep a problem out. The purpose of these walls would be to be curved in such a way that it slows down currents coming in, so that the water passing through the city is operating at a um, gentler pace.
And and if you're a stupid latical or a cephalonid, then it also turns into a highway. If
Yes,
you
you can
design your
funnel.
city,
Yeah.
if your architects are good enough, water and currents can become highways.
Yes. Yeah, so I think we've got some really interesting architectural elements that we can bring into all of our different cities. But I just really liked the sort of sensibly bringing things down to earth, as it were, and sort of looking at it from the perspective of, well, what's important to the different races. And I just really liked the tone that Wilf went for with his post this morning. I was like, yeah, no, I think that's the right line for us to be following to detail these things out. Let me click down to our cities then. Here we go. So, what we could do, it's up to you guys which way around you want to do things. I can read you the new content that I wrote this week, and then we can go back through and start fitting things in. Or we can just start going through things from top to bottom and adding in our standards of living notes that we want to add to each one until we get to the new stuff and then just tackle them all at once. Which way around would you guys like to do things?
I just have to tell introspective that you don't have to type tidebreaker, wave breaker in full caps. Wave breakers have been invented a while ago. Just saying. Anyway.
Very helpful,
Yes,
introspective.
introspective.
Thank you. Yeah, wood and plasterboard wouldn't be very useful underwater, but you can still do conglomerate construction. Yeah, rubble glued together with mucus, or we have options for inserting various things that can be used to make pastes and compounds. We can go just a little bit, a little bit sort of sci-fantasy, and maybe crushed coral of certain types makes for a good composite of some kind. I do think that was where
The
we were thinking for our part of our plasteel.
the alchemically rendered down bones of titans become excellent glue.
Oh no, this is why everybody's after Benny. They're trying to send him to the glue factory. Run, Benny, run!
That's terrible. Benny, no. Benny is part of
Leviathans.
our house now.
Did I
Benny's in the
see the
walls.
post about the pirate port idea? I don't know if I did, Zork. If you can find that post and then do a message link to it over in the orcs, that will let me go straight back to it, and then I'll be able to see it. If you're willing to do that, and just scroll back to find it for me. If not, I will look for it after stream. Do seahorses get sent to the glue factory too?
Yes.
What do seahorses on Shoal look like? Because they're cute, delicate little beings on Earth that need very specific
Oh,
conditions, and if the current is too strong, then it's a problem for them. Do we need
well,
a giant Leviathan seahorse? Do we need some ridiculous eldritch seahorse on Shoal?
yes. What do you mean? How? Yes.
Just Z xenomorphs. All right, well let me find where I've got. I should be in the bestiary, I think. Yeah, bestiary, Leviathans. I'll put a note in here that we need Eldritch, Seahorse, Leviathan, possibly just an underwater xenomorph. Back when, long ago, when I still used to use Facebook, many moons ago, and I only had one because I needed it for the work I was doing at the time. It was how we got our staff schedules. My banner for my Facebook page is a T-Rex xenomorph. So, yeah, I think we could maybe go for some kind of ridiculous seahorse xenomorph thing. We've got underwater super cavitating Valstrax. I mean, why not? Why not? All right, cities. There we go. That's what we're supposed to be doing today. We do have two
as
cities
well.
built in the carcasses of dead leviathans. Yes, we do. Xenomorph. Bully
Yes,
snake!
he's right. You can't even blame him. He's right. He's not wrong.
Okay, Zorka sent me the thing. All right, let's. Oh, I do remember briefly seeing this, but this was right when we were leaving the cottage. So yeah, I didn't cover it, but yes, Zork suggested, and British people will understand why this is funny, the Arctic pirate port of Slough. Buried within a truly gigantic glacier, this town is one of the largest pirate ports on Shoal. Built from hundreds of joined together wrecks jutting out in every direction, it looks more like a sea urchin than a city. Nearly as big as a forge city, it is said that it is as old as piracy itself, and that hidden within the oldest wrecks are piles of treasure. It roams the Arctic seas, its location only revealed to trusted captains. Mercenaries also make their home there, guarding the port in lieu of rent payments. I just feel like we need to bring in some more Slough elements.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. They build a port in icicles. Sure.
Okay,
You know
I
what?
am
You know
going
what?
to add this to my overall cities notes because I do think that this needs to go in because I do like the
You,
idea of a glacier that's just roaming around the ocean full of pirates. That would be very fun to write
you,
about.
you know what's the other thing that they have on that glacier?
What's that?
A thriving colony of feral fuzzes.
Surely they'd just eat through all the ships.
Exactly. Nobody said they're not pests.
Yes, that was a very good idea, Zork, and I'm glad you brought it back up again and made sure that I paid attention to it because that is a great idea. All right, I think what we'll do is we'll go through our cities one by one to refresh people's memories on them. We'll talk about what our strata looks like of standards of living, poor to extravagant, and maybe in some places that's not really a thing, and we'll go from there. So I started out with our founding species capitals. We had Kuvatrova, which is the Podland capital, and the write-up for that was we did say that we wanted to put a scar into this one, and I think I started doing that and then got distracted. Right, let's read through it and see if I find a spot where I messed up. Kuvatrova is a rooted marvel, a spiralling stronghold of mineral wisdom and coral memory. Built into the slope of a slow-crawling ridgeline, the city ascends and descends in graceful concentric terraces. Each level is shelled in patterned stone and laced with hardened coral bridges hung with mineral veils and garlands of bioluminescent sea flora. The outer terraces of Kuvatrova gleam with vibrant colour and artistry. Polished stones, crystallised salts, fossil tiles, and volcanic glass are proudly displayed, not just as construction material, but as testament to geological beauty. These surfaces echo the Podland's own ornamental shells, personal mosaics mirrored in public space. At the city's heart spirals the Grand Lexicon Garden, a coral library grown, not built. Massive, memory-rich coral spirals record ancient songs and thermal readings in patterns only Podland minds can fully interpret. Apprentices and scholars tend these groves with reverence, harvesting only what can be regrown. Where many cities stretch outward, Kuvatrova digs deep. Beneath the visible terraces lie vast internal chambers, thermally regulated and carved from living rock. These house the city's archives, hatcheries, mineral larders and sacred kilns. Here, Podland's refined stone like others refine thought, slow, deliberate and full of meaning. Despite its solemn, grounded appearance, Kuvatrova is a place of exchange and elegance. Between the terraces, streamer shells and mineral filaments flutter in the currents. Artistic displays, family signals, and even political discourse rendered in motion and shimmer. It is not a place of haste or grandeur. It is a place of depth. In both stone and silence, Kuvatrova endures. And the last time we talked about it, the note that was added was that there needs to be a scar on the city that comes from the Forge Wars. So whether we want that to be, a derelict section or a extremely large memorial park of some kind or a physical trough that's been cut through the city that's not been built over and it's just kind of there. I don't know what you guys want that to look like, but I do think we should have something for the for that note, for the fact that of course Kuvatrova would have been affected by the Forge Wars, it being the Podland capital. Truck nuts. We are not putting hunch nuts on Kuvatrova. We might just have to invent a Shoal mech though that we can put some nuts on.
Suggestion: derelict factories.
A
The
region of
the
derelict
the
factories.
the derelict factories from the late um, when tried the last ditch effort to the Force Wars.
I've got.
These factories were bombed by some war crime level bullshit, and they could not be rebuilt.
Derelict sector.
With me?
Yes, I am currently doing a write-up that I will read to you in just a moment, taking what you're saying into account, because I think I know how to do this.
I'm sorry for being a robot. I'm
It's
sorry.
really strange because you sound fine for me.
OBS doesn't like me.
No,
They
OBS doesn't
think
like
the
anybody.
they really think the Tyranids are the shit, and they want me to switch over to Necrons. I understand. I will get a dapper hat. I promise.
That's going to be like your job over the next week is to draw Kron Lictor.
From Victor.
Yes.
Okay,
If
cool.
you draw it,
Here,
if you make it a little transparent PNG, I will stick you on the screen with me as well, seeing as you're here every week to keep me in check.
that okay. You heard it here, Chad. They can Red can't escape now. It'll happen. You'll see. Come on, Zork. What sort of war crime makes an entire quarter of a city inhospitable? Yeah, I see what you're saying, Zork.
I don't want to go into too much detail because I want you guys to decide that, but this needs to be read all. Okay. Uninhabitable and. Okay, yes, that's how we'll do this. There we go. Okay, so I've written. We were talking about the streamers and how they're used to do artistic displays, family signals, political discourse. If we have an area that was affected by the war, I imagine that that expression will carry on into it. So I've written the streamers are at the most dense in the derelict sector of ruined factories dating back to the Forge Wars. This area was rendered uninhabitable and turned into a memorial park for remembrance of those turbulent times, with many remaining struts and walls decorated with commemorative tributes from crew Trovers to populace. And then, of course,
Okay.
we can add more detail to that as we fill out the Forge Wars a bit more when we get back to them, etc., etc. Let me see what chat has to say because I've not been paying attention, and that's bad. A literal scar, perhaps in the memorial. Hopefully this is in line with what you were thinking, Ed, because it's a physical part of the city that's destroyed, and then we let people add their own memorials to it. Did we ever have a war crime of dropping a large rock on a city? I don't think we did, and partially that might be because of how large the rock would have to be to not be affected by the currents. Or you could take that into
I
account,
don't
of course.
I don't think that's a war crime. I think that's really falls into public Prussian tactics.
Depending on how far in the past were the Forge Wars and times of war crimes, we could say it's the site of where the toy maker attempted to become a god. It would be the kind of place where it would make sense for there to be some kind of religious meaning attached to it by those who are of that bent. Weapon in question was a modified screamer. Instead of acting as an area denial system, it acted more as a psychic sandblaster, permanently rending the song in the affected area. Okay. So we were saying that.
You can call it the empty quarter or the silent quarter.
Yeah, I think we can stew on that for a little bit, and perhaps
Yeah, no, no.
I think we'll revisit this once we finish fleshing out the Forge Wars, because there might be something that we come up with that makes sense as being the thing that caused that there, and then we can decide, does that mean that the psionics are affected or not, and does that then affect whether people go there to leave memorials, or is it a zone that's just completely avoided because it's cut off from.
We don't go to Ravenholm anymore.
Exactly. All right, so we will bear that in mind. I will put a note here. Revisit the Memorial Park after defining the Forge Wars more. There we go. That should remind me to come back to it. All right. What do we want to say about our standards of living in Kuvatrova? I feel like there would be a difference between the very affluent and the not. I don't feel like this is the kind of city where that wouldn't be a thing. What do we think that would look like here? What would it be to be a rich podlin with a fancy place to live versus a poor podlin with less? I do like the idea of poor podlins sleeping in their shells and just renting storage units. I thought that was a really cool idea.
I think that the valleys, because the city is very much has its highs and lows.
Hmm.
I think the podlands, the less well-to-do, get in order to avoid the streams and essentially hunker down in their shells, go low, and there's the idea of low lifing.
Okay.
Uh, so they huddle in the masses in the low points of the city, while being able to have a house of your own and an external shell, so to speak, is a sign of wealth and status. And those who live on the highest parts of the city are also seen as those who can afford the most, because for all they care, they have enough to provide walls to ward off streams. They don't have predators, they don't have anything. They, like living in the penthouse at the top of a very tall tower. It's
Okay.
not very practical if you stop and think about it. But it is considered a sign of wealth.
Yeah, yeah. Give me just a second to write up some of these thoughts. I might see if Iden wants to come and join us and tell us how the dogs are doing while I do this. How
Oh,
their
I
day
know
out
that, man.
was. Are you willing to do that, love?
Do what?
Would you like to pop into stream and tell us about your day out with the dogs?
Yeah, in a couple minutes.
Cool, that would be helpful. He says he'll be in a couple of minutes.
Wonderful.
It's often
I'd
populated
love to see it.
by underprivileged. I'm going to spell this wrong, but that's fine. I'll fix it in a minute. By underprivileged podlands. It is an area with many small, cheap rental storage units in which poorer podlands keep their items while using their own shells to sleep in sheltered areas. I was going to say overnight, but we don't have the standard day-night system. I just sleep in
Well,
sheltered areas when they rest. There we go. Then I don't have to worry about
podlands
it.
are incredibly industrious,
That's
aren't
very
they?
true. Yes, they are.
So in their off shifts, it's just their it's
During
the
off
low
shift.
the low lifers just they have their on shift, they have their work shift, they have the rec shift, as in recreational shift, and they have the off shift.
Due
Like
to
the,
these. Uh,
I'm absolutely
due
not
to
ripping
this
off
way
the
of living, the term low life also exists on Shoal as a derogative for lower standards of living. Okay, the average podlin, bringing in a median wage, often lives close to the factories and facilities that make up Kuvatrova's, I can't type today, Kuvatrova's core city structure. Apartments and duplexes are common, and owning one's own exterior shell is considered a mark of success. Homes with a balcony into the current to display streamers and artistic expression are considered very upmarket. The most wealthy and influential of podlands tend to live closer to the surface in sprawling wide homes of multiple rooms, each with their own unique expression and space to display what is important to that family. Space, enclosed space in quantity is a sign of great riches. Leading podlands to really appreciate a good ballroom, which I think is hilarious considering they're snail people, and the idea of them trying to ballroom dance at the speed that they will move I just find very funny. All right, let's see what chat has to say about that.
I'm thinking about what the hell would happen if they do breakdancing.
They just spin around on the back of their shells, put little turbos on the side.
Hell yeah. Powered podland breakdancing. Shell dancing.
Shell dancing. I've gotten quiet. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't talk as loud when I'm writing at the same time. Let me read out what I just wrote nice and clearly so people can hear it. Standards of living. The deeper depths of Kuvatrova, where the waste routes run, is often populated by underprivileged podlands. It is an area with many small, cheap rental storage units in which poorer podlands keep their items while using their own shells to sleep in sheltered areas during off shifts. Due to this way of living, the term low life also exists on Shoal as a derogative for lower standards of living. The average podlan, bringing in a median wage, often lives close to the factories and facilities that make up Kuvatrova's core city structure. Apartments and duplexes are common, and owning one's own exterior shell is considered a mark of success. Homes with a balcony into the current to display streamers and artistic expression are considered very upmarket. The most wealthy and influential of podlands tend to live closer to the surface in sprawling wide homes of multiple rooms, each with their own unique expression and space to display what is important to that family. Enclosed space in quantity is a sign of great riches, leading podlands to really appreciate a good ballroom. There we go. The shortest podland dancing song is 30 human minutes. Oh my god. I'm not going to try and sing that, Zork, but a parody of House of the Rising Sun for Kuvatrova would be very funny. All right, shall we move down to Hawan next then?
Yes.
All right, Hawan is our Cephalonid capital. Okay, let me just look over at my map so I can remember where we put Hawan. Oh yes, it's over in the Starburst Shoals on the east side. Hawan is a city suspended in flow, a series of domed structures anchored to reef and rock formed of translucent coral composites and pressure-grown shell. The city's layout is non-linear and coiled, adapted for cephalonid motion rather than bipedal expectation. Corridors twist gently in 3 dimensions, guiding swimmers by texture, current pattern and gradient, with surfaces tuned to sensory navigation through subtle ridges, spines and resonant folds. The internal spaces of Hawan do not separate cleanly into rooms or halls, but instead expand and constrict in spiraled intervals, creating zones of use rather than fixed chambers. For non-cephalonid visitors, the environment can feel disorientating. Ceilings taper without warning, floors vanish into open shafts, and movement is often vertical as much as lateral. Clustered around the city's main structures are thousands of grasp hooks, protrusions of coral, bone, and polished metal rising from the reef. These are used both practically and socially, offering anchorage points for cephalinids during strong tidal shifts or conversational drift. Their placement often marks areas of activity and exchange, forming a kind of topographical social map. At the city's core lies the Vault of the Witnessed, a guarded cavern housing one of the largest known caches of memory coral on Shoal. Unlike the living structures around it, this archive is static and dark, its neural coral spires arranged in careful isolation. Access is heavily controlled, and only specific caretakers are trained to interact with the volatile impressions stored within. Though Howan floats in shallow waters, its architecture avoids surface-level structures. Instead, it utilises light harvesting towers that rise just below the waves during the lambent season, refracting Mearns glow deep into the city's interior. These refracted beams feed both the biological infrastructure and curated algae gardens maintained in low turbulence chambers. Howan is not a city of walls or gates. It is a domain of tuned flow and intentional passage shaped by pressure, thought, and the fluent choreography of limbs in motion. And we had no extra notes last time we looked over this. So unless anybody has anything they want to add, we can probably move on to what we think the standards of living look like for squid people. I did like the idea that Wilf had that for underprivileged squid people, that they would be happy to just, sort of find cracks to squeeze into for somewhere safe to sleep for the night.
The crack walls. They literally live in the crack walls.
We don't have crack dens in Howan, we have crack walls.
Exactly. These are walls that are cracked.
We're not making Hamsteropolis introspective, though technically I guess this kind of is Hamsteropolis. It is a whole series of tubes all tied together. We're just not going to put hamsters in it.
It's just the cephalid equivalent of of caskets, sleeping pods.
Yes. Squid hamsters, oh god. All right, so let's write here then standards of living. I'm going to make this bold. Okay, so under privileged. I cannot spell today.
That is not true. Spell dog.
Woof.
There you go.
Beagles. Underprivileged cephalinids tend to favour less well maintained areas of the city where they can find cracked walls to slip into for temporary housing and shelter. These crack wall zones often encourage greater levels of crime, especially as there are some cephalinids who take advantage of Howan's controlled flow structure to pipe chemical stimulants through these areas.
Dear God, there's the cracked walls and there's the crack flowing through the walls.
Yes! Let's see. Do we need an uplifted hamster species? No! Not Shoal! This one gets interesting since a squid would feel safest in the smallest place going. I suspect that the sleeping quarters at least would be very small no matter the social position, but other rooms would be a luxury. Also, the rich would have very fancy cracks to live in. Closer to the seafloor, the shoddier it gets. I feel like perhaps the deeper you are and the further out from the coral beds that Howan is embedded into is where would have your less privileged areas. I do like the idea though that all squid live in small bedrooms because that's what makes them feel safe.
I think one of the things we are missing here is the fact that they need specific they have some specific salinity and water quality.
So the further out you are into the streams away from the coral, perhaps the less of the
Yes,
nutrient
yes.
flows that you need. Okay.
So a good crack to slip in is a crack that has the perfect temperature and nutrient flow inside it.
On the
It's not
outskirts.
just space. Not all waters are the same, and a controlled uh, so why the cracks are low life living standards because they don't have any control of salinity, nutrient, and whatever flows around them. The good life, or at least the life you want to live, is where your sleeping closet, so to speak, because it really doesn't have to be bigger than a closet, is an environmentally controlled space
Hmm.
because they have thin skin and they need that sort of added control that species that are better insulated, like the Salatians, do not have that problem. The Salatians doesn't care if the outside water are sweet water or salt water. Acetylene does. Yeah, well, introspective. Cephaline's sometimes called crab's dinner. So crabs call crab's dinner. So, you know, it's kind of the inherent feeling of superiority that some crabs have really borders on speciesism.
Okay, and then we'll need to talk about what the sort of middle class often placing their core rooms such as the bedroom always a narrow space to feel safe, and the kitchen in the best flow areas of a home, while recreational rooms may. Oh, excuse me, I sneezed. While recreational rooms may
Bless you.
be placed in slightly less, um, slightly less rich. Okay, so far I have underprivileged cephalinids tend to favour less well maintained areas of the cities where they can find cracked walls to slip into for temporary housing and shelter. These crack wall zones often encourage greater levels of crime, especially as there are some cephalinids who take advantage of Howan's controlled flow structure to pipe chemical stimulants through these areas. Crack wall zones tend to be on the outskirts or depth of the starburst reefs where the water is often colder and less nutrient rich than cephalinids prefer. Affluent cephalinids tend to live in grand interconnected homes in the centre of the reef, with core corridors passing under ancient corals. The water here tends to be perfectly warm, perfectly saline, and perfectly nutritious, giving them the benefit not just of space but also inherently healthier waters. Average cephalinids tend to live somewhere between these two extremes, often placing their core rooms, such as the bedroom, always a narrow space to feel safe, and the kitchen in the best flow areas of a home, while recreational rooms may be placed in slightly less rich waters. Let's see what chat is saying. Oh
What we're
God,
having
Corbyn's
is
turned up.
yes, Corbin. Yes, Corbin on one side,
Well,
and then
there
there's
goes the neighborhood.
Hi, Aiden.
oh, the neighborhood does need to go. We've established that.
Yes, we need to have good neighbourhoods, bad neighbourhoods. Wolf says
Yes.
that's really good, differentiates between the rich and the poor, but not in the way a human would. Really emphasises the alien nature of the species, but in an understandable way. Glad it comes across that way, and, everybody's input has made Shoal fascinating. Cannibalism is
Oh
a
yeah.
working societal model, just saying. So Corbyn is definitely a crab person on Shoal, then.
Yes. Yeah. Hooded squids are a thing. Just saying.
Cephalopods sleep in cracks IRL. Anything trying to get them meets the beak first, and you don't want to meet the beak. Correct. Squid beaks are terrifying.
Yes.
It's the Admiral. Oh no, Corbyn has found the dancing digs emote. I'm sure he will use this for only positive purposes.
There are no other purposes. We've opened the book. There are no other purposes. Right. Right, Corbin?
All right, so are we satisfied with Howan then? Are we ready to move on to the next one? Because
I'm
I think
satisfied.
Introspective is going to be wanting to have input on the next one, because we're moving to Karasket, the ceratinoid capital. And Karasket is up on our northern polar cap. It's just off the coast. All right, let's read through what we've got here then and see what we want to do with this one. Karasket is a city grown from death and built for endurance. Its defining feature is the immense hollowed shell of a long-dead leviathan, partially submerged in stone and sealed against the crushing dark. Within that armoured cathedral of bone, the ceratinoids carved the first dry dock foundries, using geothermal venting and native ore to forge metal in open air, a practice that defied their aquatic origins and defined their future. This shell forge, known simply as the Vault, retains the heart of Karasket. Its internal chambers rise through nested layers of scaffolding, gantries and lifts, all reinforced with blackened alloy and decorated only with etched records of labour and lineage. Most of the space is kept dry, hot and functional, with heavy gantry arms and tram routes for hauling hull plates and raw coral. The earliest Titans were born here, shaped with rough precision and an eye towards lasting purpose, not beauty. The city itself sprawls outward and upwards from the vault in tiers, clinging to trench walls and suspended by colossal pillar forges, each rooted in mineral seams and volcanic stone. The deep dwellers dominate the lowest levels, where gravity and pressure are most intense, a realm of smelters, blast kilns and silence broken only by the ring of stone on metal. Higher terraces house pressure-shifted platforms and docking layers for visiting allies, tradecraft and shallow water bloodkin. Karasket does not centre its knowledge, it distributes it. Coral libraries are embedded across the city's span, in central workstations where labour paths converge, and at rest points between lifts. These are record chunks, practical and partial, ensuring no single archive holds dominion over all knowledge, and the loss of one does not diminish the records of the entire city. Mundane coral is often burnt or scored for protection, readable only to those trained in the forge chant dialects or the tactile notation systems passed through clutch lines. Every element of the city is exposed but armoured, a reflection of ceratinoid life. There is little ornament here beyond tool marks left on purpose or the ritualised scarring of support beams to honour disasters survived. Structures are built to last, to be rebuilt, and to be known by the damage they've taken. The other forge cities would grow more graceful or ambitious, but Karasket endures as the mould. Massive, enduring and unyielding. It is not a relic, it is a living engine, and when the trench groans, Karasket answers with fire. So one of the things that we knew that we wanted to add to this was that they need to import food, because with the amount of industry that's gone on here over time, Natural food sources have been reduced, if not depleted. So being part of the trade routes they're part of in the modern day is very important. Future is built on the mistakes, pollution of the past. So we know that Karasket is going to have areas of heavy pollution, and perhaps that's where our less affluent ceratinoids live. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that the way chat might want to go with this is that you become less affluent by not being able to output work at such a high quality or quantity, whereas ceratinoids who are the better craftsmen tend to end up with the better lodging, which will probably be closer to the central and more important forges, so that your merit as a craftsman is reflected in your physical position of where you live in life. I'm going to guess that's where chat wants to go with this, but I'm very happy to hear what you guys want to input. I see we have many crabs marching on screen at the minute. Corbin, naming game. I can put you. I can put you into the setting somewhere. We could do that for sure. We could have people redeem naming game, and we start naming characters after people, putting characters in for them. If you guys wanted to do that, it's going to be a while before we can do that in any detail. But I'm open to that suggestion as long as what we come up with matches to the setting. We're not going to have Crunk Lord Smoke Master 9420, for example. That's not going to be a thing.
But why not?
Because I have a thing about consistent world building and I'm boring. Let me put into. We'll put it into Reese. It's going to be key personae, so let me add a thing in here. Name in game people. All right, so we know Corbin needs to become a character. All right, if anybody else redeems, we can do that. And there's no rush. You don't all have to do it today. We have time. Shoal's not going anywhere, but that is a thing that we can do.
Oh, Shoal was marching forward, 1 week at a time.
Yes.
Facts. On the subject of characters,
Yep.
I have provided for you via DM a demonstration of some of our characters being exactly that.
I will have a look in just a minute.
You did come in, ask me to come in and provide a field report from the dogs.
Yes. How was your trip out with the dogs while I catch up on chat? Tell us about it.
Just antics. Oh my god, the antics of these little monsters. So, Saris naturally had her ball fixation. Pip and Anka had a ball that they were between the two of them, constantly doing spy versus spy attempts at stealing. And then other dogs got involved, wanting to do such, leading to there was a poodle, a couple lab-looking dogs, one that looked like a beagle terrier mix of some variety, all just muscling in on each other trying to thieve the balls. It was like one massive clusterfuck of thievery and shenanigans, culminating in the four biggest dogs, Pip being among them, deciding they were just going to go and start sprinting around the area until they started yelling at each other under a tree. Because tree. Until the zoomies took root once again.
I mean, it's been there. The tree. It's a
Yes,
tree.
it is a tree.
You
It
have to
must be.
beware of the trees. These
They
things have multiple aims. They have heavens know how many hit dice. These are terrifying things.
I mean, that's
Trees
on
are
par
dangerous.
with that's on par with the dreaded gazebo.
Yep.
God knows the
10
gazebo is a nightmare.
10 out of 10 to any chat dweller who got my reference.
Indeed.
Yes. I'm glad that the fur puppies, the fur babies have gotten their outing.
All right.
They
There we
had
go.
a great time. But yes, I have provided a short, like 30-second video snippet to provide visual evidence of the shenanigans.
Alrighty, give me just a moment to download that then. Now I've caught up on chat. Pipdate1.org, that works. And then I can throw that in and we can all watch it together. OBS. Media source, that's what I want.
Media source.
Yeah, I totally know how OBS works, honest. Desktop.
Media source.
I'm going to turn it off for a second. Okay, yeah, no, hopefully it shouldn't be too
There they are.
Lippers.
It really wants to have some more run around time. Go on, Anka. Go join them. Oh, you wanna? So yeah,
Cool.
I cut the video off at that point because, the risk of face revealing people, and that would not be kosher.
Yeah.
But that poodle was a wind-up merchant that just loved running up to Anka and trying to steal her ball and making Anka yell at him.
I'm glad they had a good time. That is
They had a
important.
great time.
Ed says that this is now the best stream. Purely because of dogs. I don't think I'd ever want to be a poodle owner, but anytime I've met a poodle at a dog park, they've been wonderful and their owners have always been lovely ladies. And it's always ladies.
Yeah. But, yeah. Also, the Beagles continue to build their reputation. The people at the park when we got there were commenting. They heard the Beagles before the Jeep was in line of sight of the park.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Our dogs are loud.
They are, and once they get about, a quarter mile from the park, they know where they're going and suddenly are vocal about their excitement.
All right, I have grabbed all of the name and game redeems so far. Okay, Zork would like to be the chosen of the toy maker. Okay, I will want to coordinate with Erica on that, seeing as he's handled all of the religious side of things, which we might dig into next week, because I know he's done his write-up at this point. And as long as Eric is happy with that and gets some input on it and it all makes sense, I don't have an issue with it. Is Aiden roboting as well?
Am I?
We've had some issues with Lictor sounding a bit robot, so I'm wondering if perhaps instead the issue is my computer.
It might be the fact that I'm piggybacking on the Wi-Fi. We're daisy chaining wireless shenanigans here.
We
that might
are until
contribute.
your PC catches up with us, so hopefully it will be fine next week.
Yep. So.
All right.
I'm hearing you just fine.
Okay.
Fair.
So it's
No.
if you're hearing him just fine and I'm hearing you just fine, I think it's something on OBS's end, perhaps. Then
Yes, let's blame OBS. That's the safest bet.
both of you are coming in through OBS, and people haven't said they're having any issue hearing me, other than when I talk quietly, which is entirely on me. So I'm going to guess that it's something with OBS at the minute. I do know there is an OBS update I need to grab, so I will do that after stream.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, there we go. We have now grabbed everybody from chat who has redeemed and stuck in the notes on that. Yes, Aiden is here. Your darling younger brother who you adore maximally, Corvin. Please don't start a fight in chat today.
I have joined the stream.
For our sins.
Hooray. Oh wow, that's all of joining that needs to be done.
All right, we're done with Howen. We're on Karasket. Standards of living. And I also need to add that note in at some point, but I will do that later. For now, standards of living. What do we think for our ceratinoids? I feel like I already said I have a feeling I know where chat will want to go with this, but my personal feeling is we know we've got deep dwellers and shallow dwellers. So I reckon that the area that's like the most unpleasant between those two is going to be sort of like the mid waters between the deep and the shallow. So if you're a shallow ceratinoid in the mid waters, it's a bit deeper than you'd really want to be. It's a bit uncomfortable. For the deep dwellers being in the mid waters, it's a bit too shallow, so it's a bit uncomfortable. And that's probably where the basic factories are that are just churning out the lower level stuff that's needed to make bigger stuff. It's the more unskilled of the forges, whereas if you go into the truly shallow water where you've got all of the nice air forge stuff going on, or into the deeper forges where they've got those deep pockets and they're doing the gas refining and etc., that's where you've got your specialized forges. So I feel like the middle of the city vertically would be where our less privileged might be located. How do you feel about that, chat?
I have an idea to put forward
Go for it.
once chat has their own. I think the distance, unlike the more mobile species, such as the cephalonids or the Silesians, or even the distance from work is an incredible factor.
Yes.
The commute. So most factories, okay, having an apartment in the factory's essentially own housing complex is standard.
Yeah, that's where your average ceratinoid is. They live where they work. Yeah, that makes sense.
They live because distance is a premium, not space, distance.
Yeah.
And being able to live on top or below your factory is where the high life is, because you were essentially at zero distance, but in the space of your own.
Yes.
The worst place to live is to live far away in the housing complexes, which are sponsored by no factory.
And then having to commute in on public transport, which will be very crowded. And
Precisely.
that lets us start playing with ideas like New York sort of vibe for premium property in the city centre, crowded subways coming in, crime where it happens is most likely to happen on those commute lines. And you perhaps then end up with Arachnoids are slow and there are no buses, so long commuters, long productivity. Crabs ain't slow. I mean, depending on what you're dealing with, crabs can either be incredibly fast or incredibly slow, especially depending on their shape and what they're managing. It's a spectrum, but we're talking on a city scale here, and walking to work, regardless of what kind of creature you are, or swimming to work, is not as good as just being able to pop downstairs and you're already there, especially when work is really important to your culture. For ceratinoids, a work-life balance are the same thing. So having the long commute, which could cut into your productivity hours, I do think the long commute makes a good sense, and it allows us to build a very industrial feeling city that an audience would instantly understand. But being able to play with those concepts, you don't have to over explain and over analyze for a human audience reading a story to understand the theme that you're going for if we build for that. So I think that works on multiple levels. Okay, let me do a quick write-up. So standards of living. Affluent. Oh, let's not have this in bold. Boop. Affluent ceratinoids are most known for the fact they live on top of the specialized factories that dominate their work. Dominate their area of work and thus life.
What we need to do is make introspective, start typing out work shanties for crabs.
I would love to have some work shanties for the crabs. That would be great.
We need these sort of things, and then we can go to Storm Song and bug him until he makes some song out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Get him to
Absolutely.
make a
Crab
crab
shanty.
shanty album.
Yep. Lo-fi crab shanty. Songs to crab to. What are you sending us, introspective? What are you doing? Nice. I want crab shanties. I want crab work shanties, like the shanties for sea shanties. The stuff you do when you pull up to the sails. Exactly, Eric. Lo-fi crab shanties to work to. I have to say to those in the crowd who know who's been through the White Wolf bullshit phase, the crabs do sound a lot like the Autochtonians from Exalted, and there's a lot of inspiration to be drawn in a hyper industrialized society that tries to sustain itself. Oh, low tide Serati shanties to forge too. Cadence can be very important to the crabs as they work in the factories.
I'm writing as fast as I can.
You
It's
are
true.
amazing.
I can hear the clack of the mechanical keyboard from here.
The chat is trying its best to outpace. The world forms, the song weaves. You can hear the notes of creation articulate themselves upon the very essence of a world as it writes out colors, substance, essence into being.
So all this talk of shanties and the like just has me now in the brain space of that one video, that one short from Monster Hunter Wilds, of the dude with the hammer just spinning it around to shooting stars while the derpy looking lizard thing is just bobbing his head along, vibing to it.
Right.
I need you to send this to me.
Stand by.
You want crab shanties, you're going to get crab shanties. That is the best threat I've heard all day. Please send me crab shanties. That's going to be your homework this week, chat. Right, write some songs for Shoal. Introspective is specifically on crab shanties.
Aiden is threatening me with good time.
I do that.
I believe when we were talking about how ceratinoids breed in the modern day, there will be like sort of spawning areas that become hatcheries so that you don't end up with the eggs just drifting on the current because, you want to keep people near to the city so that if they succeed their first molt and become an actual person, you can then immediately start teaching them and training them, and there's your population to go onwards. So I don't think there will be any releasing genetic material into the water column like on Earth. It will be specialized locations for that. Crab pirates are incredible musicians. Absolutely. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Okay, let me read what I've written up for standards of living for Karasket, and then we'll see if we're ready to move on.
Ed,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
but now you're talking about Dread Pirate, Krabbin, or Corbin, if you will.
We can't make the dread pirate Corbin, who's a crab, because we will never hear the end of it from him.
You're not wrong. That would be
I know
such
that
a
boy.
horrible thing.
He'd love it far too much.
No. He needs to be the cabin crab for the Dread Pirate.
I'll talk to him about it.
Dread Pirate Whacker. Shit, man. Shit.
All right, let's get through this bit for Karasket. Standards of living. Affluent ceratinoids are most known for the fact that they live on top of the specialized factories that dominate their area of work and thus life. The ability to simply enter one's workspace from one's personal home is a sign of great success, and many ceratinoids will add an observation lounge to the top of their homes to both oversee the work going on around them when they are at rest and to enjoy the feeling of height. The average Kuvatrova citizen, however, will live in factory-sponsored apartments within the factory complex they are contracted to. These apartments tend to be functional rather than beautiful, with shops and amenities in regularly spaced positions to minimise time needed away from work and rest. Underprivileged ceratinoids tend to be found in the midwaters, where the less specialised factories are placed. Shanty towns on the edges of this zone house many who rely on public transport to bring them into their work locations. As a result, crime is usually highest on these commercial routes, and food in the shanty towns is often pop-up takeout stands of dubious quality. I imagine it is not uncommon to pick up on your way home from another day at the factory a order of crab legs from unfortunate factory
Roman.
accidents. Yes, very
It's
Roman.
very Roman.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
The thermoio, the workers, you don't cook at home.
Nope.
You have a restaurant, and they have like 5 or 6 different stews that they have going for literally generations.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go and pick something with some bread, and this is your meal.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I very much had that sort of Roman way of things in mind when I was writing that up based on what you guys have been saying. Bucket is a lewd word to crabs. Oh my god. We already have the Dread Pirate OK Mo and they'd fight. Are we having OK Mo fight with the Dread Pirate Whacker or the Dread Pirate Corbin, or are we having all 3 of them? Oh dear. All right, that's Karasket. Let's have a look at Sulayan, the Salashian capital.
Salations.
Yeah. Sulayan is not a city in the traditional sense. It is a conglomerate of blood-bound territories, a sprawl of outposts and sanctuaries carved into the trench walls and floored into the dark below. Each sector bears the mark of a dominant bloodline, from matrilineal whale folk holds to territorial shark folk fastnesses, all united beneath a single commanding structure, the Throne of Teeth. This central seat of power is less a palace than a great governing vault, where bloodlines gather and disputes are settled by consensus, challenge, or memory. From here radiate the core chambers of Sulayan, wide, echoing conduits through which even the largest Salashian can pass without slowing. Walls are bare, vast and unornamented, but imposing in their scale and function. Architecture is dictated by mass, flow and strength, open-topped corridors, expansive amphora halls and atrium chambers where hundreds may gather without touch. Sulayan is structurally layered by depth. At its central roots, far below most current, lie the Far below most currents lie the Susella hatcheries and bonding nurseries, where the crucial symbiotic partners of Selashians are born and raised. These delicate ecosystems are heavily guarded, housed in biocapsule vaults suspended between the Great Library of Sulayan above and the bioengineering crucibles below. The Grand Library is not a delicate archive, but a memory fortress, thick-walled, pressure-stabilised and tended by bonded pairs. Instead of just slender coral strands or fragile songglyphs, Sulayan stores its knowledge in biocoded slabs, psionic etchings, and record beasts spread to carry spoken histories across generations. The upper sectors of Sulayan, closer to the open ocean, are dominated by shark blood territories, where speed and reaction time matter more than size. Structures here are often perched near current vents and cold stream ridges, ideal for patrol and pursuit. In contrast, the deeper enclaves of the whalekin are more static, echoing with infrasonic resonance, built for meditation, legacy, and defence. Each region is semi-autonomous, specialised, and shaped by its founders. Despite this fragmentation, Sulayan functions as a whole. Shared engineering, memory bonds, and interclade rituals bind its people in a rough but resolute coalition of might and necessity. There are no tight passages here, no dainty buildings or low ceilings, only immense architecture that obeys the truth of Salatian form. In Sulayan, the corridors hum with current, the stone bears the weight of giants, and every chamber reminds you, this city was not built for hands, it was built for mass, motion, and legacy. And one of the things that we wanted to add in is that the biomes in between the outposts are for filter feeding and for fish to be in. So we wanted to add in vast biomes between the outposts for feeding. Sharkkin are obligate carnivores, so the space between us is important as the occupied space for food reasons. I feel like the disparity between rich Selashians and poorer Selashians will probably be less exaggerated than, say, in Karasket. I feel like that for the most underprivileged Selashians, that's your pirates. That's the people who go off to go and join the migratory fleets or the pirate fleets, and just don't choose to stay in Sulayan at all. That's just my personal feeling on the matter, though. I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say.
On chat.
Okay, Zork has a good idea for a street food we need to add in. Street food for the ceratinoids is soup sealed inside crab claws and roasted over magma vents. I really like that.
Yes. Especially because it's a very easy to come by.
And suck out the
Piece
soup
of
and then
equipment.
eat the claws as a crunchy snack. And Corbin has returned to tell us to eat the paw. I mean, when you're a crab person, absolutely.
Eat the poor, eat the rich, eat the in between. I mean, eat the people. By the people, for the people, from the people.
Access to feeding fields would be important. So maybe that's how we differentiate our more important Selashians from the less so, is your proximity to the feeding fields. And restaurants, because restaurants are still going to be a thing. Okay, let me go and put this in food while people are having a think. Where did we do food?
Okay.
Doesn't look like it went in. Where did I hide it? Where did I hide it? Ah, there it is. It's down here. There we go. That is now somewhere I can find it again and not lost. Right, what do we have to say, chat? Rich, poor, I'm an equal opportunity cannibal. Also, access to better Susela lines. Well, we know that we had the bio wars with the Selashians, where they had like the biggest civil war that Shoal's ever seen because of nonsense that happened with Susela. So, in the current day, Susela breeding and pairing is incredibly controlled and equitable. So, I'm not so sure that access to better lines would be the thing, though I'm sure certain families have, you know, a line that that they tend to draw from and pair with, but I don't necessarily know that would be how we stratify their society.
I think access to variety is actually more important, and their ability to, since they are almost constantly on the move, having the richest variety circuit. They don't live in a certain building, they live in a circuit. They move over time. They're pod there, and they
I
need
think
to
the concept of
visit.
access is the right way to go. You're right. What do they have access to? Do they have access to better feeding areas and the variety, like you say, and maybe multiple rest points, in the different
Exactly.
areas that they go between, but also access to the knowledge stores of Sulayan. The Salashians are very knowledge based. There are premier genetic engineering people, and have the best Temps coral affinity. So access, I think, is the way that we do that. And I
The,
still have the feeling, and unless somebody's going to tell me no, don't do that, I don't like it. I do like the idea that the underprivileged who don't have access choose to leave. And that's why you see the sharkkin and whalekin guards on pirate fleets, merchant fleets, migratory fleets. These are people who have left Sulayan for one reason or another and have
I
sought
think that
better options elsewhere.
No,
I
don't
think
do that. I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
I'm messing with you. You said you knew I was gonna have to say it the moment you said that. So
What were you going to say, Lictor?
I was gonna say that first of all, yes, Aiden, we understand that you had to say that. This is legitimate. You had to do that. We respect your special needs. Um,
I'm
aside from
special.
yes, you are, honey. Anyway, the what I do have to say about this is that Chilean culture is at the same time, I'm sorry to say this, but it's kind of like London
Hmm.
in that there is no real stigma for leaving because you want a better fortune somewhere else.
Yeah.
But they also have a huge pride about being that one line that has been here for 300 years and no one left, and we've been in our circuit, staying in our lane, chill, moisturized, and happy.
Yeah, and that could give us some
Growing,
really
growing.
interesting stories. People who leave home. I mean, and the story of a whalekin who decides to leave home despite the fact that for generations nobody ever has, and he has, this is expectation of he's going to go into the same genetic research studies that his family has always been in, but he decides to bugger off and join a pirate fleet because no, there's a story there.
It's not. It's that, but it is also the concept of stability
Hmm.
is incredibly important, but it's stability in motion. The Chileans need to move. You cannot not move. You have to.
The one thing that I will say is that I'm not going to have our sapient whale and shark people have the issue of they must swim to breathe. Um, we have plenty of
No,
species of shark on. Somebody brought it up in chat. Is all, and they're quite right. Lots of species of shark have to swim to breathe, but we do also have sharks that can automatically, flex their gills and don't have to move in order to breathe. And I think I'm going to have our sapients not have that concern because it would just be one more thing that you have to try and keep track of and account for in telling a narrative that isn't going to be instantly native in understanding to an average reader. Because for all we have a lot of very intelligent nerds in our audience, I love you guys. This is the best chat on Twitch. if we're writing stuff that perhaps other people might one day enjoy, we can't assume that everyone has that knowledge, and it's just that extra step of having to justify, explain, etc. So I think we'll just go with they can breathe even when they're sitting still.
Oh yeah, no. I wasn't meaning that they have to move because they have to breathe.
No,
I
no, no.
said
Yeah.
my they need to move because they need to because it's a social thing.
Yeah.
You don't stick to a single place. That's just not how things are done. This is what I was getting at.
Yes. Yeah.
Again,
Sulaeans.
in a very stratified, again, think late Victorian London society. Very stratified, very where you're walking on the lane can tell you a whole lot about which Sulayan are you. That's the leading thought in my brain. If you can call what's going on in my brain thoughts, of course, it's all circuits now that I'm a robot.
You are, in fact, a robot.
Yes.
Okay, so Sulaean stratification is a little different to other cities and cultures. The concept of rich and poor are not so important as access and position. Well-placed Salashians will have a range that takes them through varied feeding grounds and resting points with the locations of their work and rest built in. They will have access to the grander knowledge archives and plenty of space in which to move and literally circulate. Lower caste or less well placed Salashians are often constricted to smaller circles, narrower pathways, less varied access to feeding zones. Feeding zones. Okay. Coastal less well-placed stations are often constricted to smaller circles, narrow pathways, less varied access to feeding zones, and libraries. For those who feel truly dispossessed or pushed out by Sulaean's unique culture, it is not uncommon for them to simply leave the city and join pirate fleets, migratory fleets, or seek other opportunities out in the world away from the capital. This is not in itself seen as a negative choice or quality, though the regimented expectations of certain lineages within Sulaean may perhaps sometimes view this differently. There we go. There's that one done. Let's see what chat has. The whale sharks have enough weird things about them? Absolutely.
We don't need the extra weird. I mean, we do, but
Introspective has already written a shanty. Oh God. This is going to be a busy homework week, isn't it?
yes, it does. Very good.
All right, let's move on to Tears, our latical capital. Tears
Latical capital.
Yes. Tears is a city without borders, a reef courtyard sprawl that dances between sea and sky, stone and coral, past and flux. Built in a slow spiral around a luminous coral pillar, the city rises and dips with graceful irregularity, shaped by flow rather than formality. Its pathways curve like currents, its towers lean into the wind, and its plazas bloom with coral gardens that shift hue with the tides. No part of Tiers is entirely above or below the surface. Walkways dive and surface again like eels in play. Homes are grown partly of reef stone and partly of biofabric that sways with the tide. Surface platforms dot the outer ring of the city, flexible, buoyant, and able to sink beneath the waves when danger approaches from the sky. During meteor season, the upper courtyards vanish, leaving only foam markers and quiet shallows above a thriving understructure. At the heart of Tiers is the Coral Pillar, a radiant vertical reef of symbiotic coral whose glow can be seen kilometres away. Rather than serving as a vault or fortress, it is a navigational and ecological anchor, feeding both the coral gardens and the latical love of dynamic space. Waterfalls run through some of its hollow cores. Others host communal spaces, training channels, or floating galleries open to tide and sky alike. Tiers thrives on motion and accessibility. For every vertical shaft a laticle might swim through, there's a ramp or treadway for those who choose to walk. Buildings are multi-level and multi-orientation, favouring swooping forms and archways that serve as both shelter and perch. Gardens aren't merely decorative. They filter water, harvest light, and shape space, growing in layered bands along walls and ceilings, responding to movement like kelp in a drift. There are no true gates in Tiers. Entry is a matter of alignment. You join the current and ride it in. For visitors from more rigidly structured cities, its layout is maddeningly organic, seeming to rearrange itself depending on tide and purpose. For the Laticols, this is only natural. A city must breathe, must grow, and above all, must let you choose your path through it. This is not a capital that looms. It entices, bends, and welcomes, twining through reef and light like a creature in its prime. And like the Laticols who made it, it crosses every boundary with grace. And we did make the note that we need to add in embassies here, and that adaptation should make them amenable to curiosity for their fellows and have the most open borders of the foundational cities. So, with that in mind, that gives us some interesting space for stratification. What do we think? In reflection, Laticals and Cephalids would probably feel at home in each other's cities. Yeah, I think they would. They would find each other's cities very understandable. Karasket would probably feel very strange to them, though, and vice versa. People from Karasket would be like, "What is this nonsense? This is not efficient."
And the Laticals would be like, "But you, of course it's not efficient. What is wrong with you? You're talking as though efficiency is the only value you have."
I mean, efficiency can be helpful.
Absolutely. But only if it's pretty.
Oh dear. Atticus have a great body plan for borrowing. I had a vision of what looks to be an empty plain of sand suddenly turning into a bustling suburb as everyone emerges from the sand at once to go to work. That could be interesting. We could certainly have some settlements where laticals act like pipefish. That would be quite entertaining.
I think it's a pastime. This is how you get lazy. You just get your snout out of a warm sand bed and just burrow into it and let the warm sand
Go
just
sand bathing.
yes, exactly.
I like
Keeps your scales glistening.
That's definitely a cultural note that we should add in when we get to it. Where's the cultures section so I can pop that in there? Cultures. Come down here. Sand bathing. Find warm sand on geothermal area. Burrow in with snout sticking out. Snooze. I like that. That's cute.
Let symbiotic tiny crabs flans you clean, nice until you're shiny.
Perhaps being
I
rich for laticols is a matter of being well connected. The more popular are, the higher your status. Or perhaps, that's where their homes are. Is the most prized homes are on the meeting points of major throughways.
I think that the most prized places are tied to luminosity.
Okay.
They, as amphibians and people who are very fond of luminescence as a part of their culture. If the cephalonids are more interested about the chemical composition of the water they're in,
But for the
the
laticles, they want to be
the
placed so
latter,
that when the light comes out, they can make the most of it.
yeah, and they like it pretty. They really do like pretty. They like open space. They want a window they can look out of and see things, see laticles swimming, see the city operates. They don't
Okay.
need to be at the very top. They're not as ground hugging as the ceratinoids and the poplins, but they are walking. They appreciate and culturally adapted to consider well lit thoroughfares and adjacent locations to be prime real estate because it is both a communal hub and a beautiful thing to see. A rich radical wants to wake up and have 17 different choices of things to do with their time. A poor radical would have a bags and situation where the only way out is slightly up and their own conveniences are dimly lit and they don't have a lot to enjoy. I think the worst uh, living situation are hole in the wall that literally think about being stashed in like a quarry where the hole is just about as big as they are and some equipment space and you have um, beddings that are not very good and you have like
Hmm.
these honeycomb uh, hotels, I'll call it, that where they store the the poor and dispossessed radicals. You don't have privacy, yet you don't have meaningful connection.
Yeah. I'm almost done writing up based on all of that.
Do radicals have family units?
I suspect it depends on, what you want to do because we've got such a broad range for laticles to inhabit. We've got the laticles that live on land. We've got the foundational city of Tears we're talking about here. We've got laticles that live in migratory fleets. We'll definitely have laticle pirates. I think it entirely depends on which laticle you happen to be talking to. There will be some where
No.
family unit is a core thing. There will be others where you perhaps have children and raise them for X number of years, and then they go off to have their own lives, and it's communal. All the children go together, and whose belongs to who doesn't really matter. It will depend on the specific group that you're talking to. I think I feel like the laticles have a huge range that we can look at culturally with them just because they've got so many places that they can thrive.
The radicals are the humans of this setting. That they do everything.
They are very
Mm,
versatile, yes, but they aren't necessarily as good at specializing as some of our other species, which will allow us to have that nice balance.
their stat bonus is versatility and extra cartilage for extra limbs.
All right, so I'm going to keep it fairly simple for the laticles. For tiers, I've written affluent laticles favour locations in the city where they are both near connection points for major throughways and shallow enough to benefit from the light of Mern during lambent season. Prime real estate is all about community and light, the beauty of the variety of the world around them. Recreational access is a must. Underprivileged laticles tend to live in the dead ends of tiers, where the light rarely reaches and communal interests are some way away. Hole-in-the-wall cheap hotels are often the only resort for the poorest of tiers and often claustrophobic for those forced to use them. The average laticle will find themselves in all the spaces in between, favouring either location, connections or space. We'll just keep that one nice and simple, I think. Let's see what chat's saying. Oh god, drop pirate shanties. Would laticles have kelp tree houses? I'm sure some of them do, and I'm sure some of the land-based ones just have tree houses. Yeah, humans getting along with laticles, I think, makes sense. That there's enough similarity between them that I think it would help them to overcome some of the, oh god, it's an alien factor, and would then allow for easier broaching of dealing with, say, a cephalonid for the first time. Which, you know, must be a time. And the squid's talking to me. I'll have you know this squid has 4 PhDs. All right, so that's our foundational cities. We are already gone 2 o'clock. So what I might do is just read you guys the new cities that I wrote up for this week and see if there's any notes you want to put on those. And then perhaps we continue with this next week and we look at what we do for the slums of the unified cities and the terrestrial cities, how we want to do our standards of living. And we can also review perhaps some shanties, because I do think some songs for Shoal would be good homework for this week. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yes.
Does that sound acceptable? So that we're not here for too long today. Especially as I need to send introspective some stuff this afternoon, and I want to eat something before I do so because I'm hungry. Hole-in-the-wall hotels will have vastly different implications for cephalonids and the other species. Yes, when we were talking about the cephalonid capital a little bit earlier on, we were having that discussion that hole-in-the-wall is not a bad thing, but the crack walls that we came up with, I think, were very, very interesting. I really like the depth that we're going into with all of this. I can really see writing in some of these cities and using these elements to enhance a narrative. All right, not hearing anything in the contrary. Let's do this thing. So the new things that I've added on is just under 2,000 words to do with our terrestrial cities. Terrestrial cities. These are the shoaly cities built nigh entirely on what little dry land Shoal has. Only 3 true cities by Terran standards exist, but there are multiple migratory tribe groups that move between the inland lakes in pursuit of herds and fish stocks. Of these migratory groups, they often disperse across a swath of land and come back together at certain dates to move to the next area as a group. More information on these migratory cultures can be found in the culture section. We haven't written it yet, but we will. Though each of the major travelling communities is listed here in brief. Let's fix that spelling mistake. There we go. So our first true city is Thorncliffe. Thorncliffe is a city of stone, sun and strategy. From its elevated spine of limestone and dark shale, it overlooks 2 sprawling freshwater lakes. Mirror pools that feed the city's fish farms, irrigate its terraced slopes and attract wildlife to its doorstep. With rich volcanic soil below and cold currents drifting through the valley, Thorncliffe has become a self-sustaining breadbasket and bastion, vital to both land dwellers and sea-linked trade routes. The city's layout follows the shape of the ridgeline itself, long and narrow with stone structures that cling to the terrain like barnacles to a reef. Roofs are tiled in sun-bleached red and ochre, sloping steep to shed the snows of the winter season. Open courtyards and archways let in breeze and light, while stone aqueducts snake down from the mountain springs to feed cisterns, fountains and fields. Beneath the city, the lower slopes are quilted with terraced farms growing deep-rooted vegetables and vine-grown fruits that thrive in the thin mineral-rich soil. Livestock ranges dot the plateau edges, and smokehouses, curing barns and windmill towers scatter the hillsides. Practical, durable and unchanged in design for generations. Thorncliffe has no massive walls. Its position is defence enough. but its watchtowers are frequent and its citizens are taught the lay of the land like a second skin. Built for endurance, not expansion, the city holds itself in check, unwilling to overreach or deplete what sustains it. Architecture blends earth and elevation. Warm stone facades with carved lintels, heavy wooden beams sourced from lower slope groves, and floors designed for both insulation and slope stability. Most structures are multi-levelled, with homes built partially into the rock itself, warm in winter, cool in summer. The cultural mood of Thorncliffe is pragmatic, proud and tight-knit. Visitors often remark on the quiet competence of its people and the unspoken etiquette of shared labour. Though isolated by geography, Thorncliffe is no backwater. Its markets hum with activity, its fishmongers and bakers are renowned across the southern routes, and its ridge-bound archives contain some of the oldest surviving land records on Shoal, as well as a huge aquarium in the Vine Library that houses one of the largest freshwater Thames corals in existence. Thorncliffe doesn't rise high, it rises right. Rooted in bedrock and steeped in seasonal rhythm, it endures in rain and sun alike. I may have waxed a little poetic on that one.
You have. But it's cool.
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
Yeah,
That is not a bad
yeah.
thing. That is not meant to be a bad thing.
Okay, so not seeing any outright that doesn't make sense in chat at the minute, which is good. I'd imagine cellars and other underground rooms going all the way down to the water table to be common, especially near the lakes, to keep the humidity up for normally aquatic species, which could be a characteristic of premium accommodation. That's a really good insight, Wilf. I like that. Okay, let's copy that.
No shower. Did you crime in the back?
Let me boop.
Oh my god.
What's she doing?
She is alerting and acting jittery around the Amazon bubble wrap.
Oh my goodness. So I had to replace my Cintiq cable this week because it stopped working, and I ordered it from Amazon, and I gave the bag to the dogs to start playing with, and Anka has just alerted at the Amazon bag I gave them to tear to pieces because it was near the air conditioning unit and this was verboten. That was what that barking was about.
She just nosed it and ran away.
She just poked it and ran away.
Yes.
A pet has been redeemed. Would you please pet the puppers? These dogs, man, they're ridiculous. All right, our next one is Red Basin. Red Basin is a city of transformation and reclamation. A fertile scar left by an ancient ocean, now repurposed as Shoal's most productive inland breadbasket. Once submerged beneath the tide, the valley retains its calcium-rich soils, coral-banked cliffs and sedimentary memory, giving rise to a unique environment where both aquatic and terrestrial species have found common rhythm. Thank you, Anka. At its heart lies Lake Mirai, a wide, shallow body of water threaded with irrigation channels, reed farms and seasonal fish runs. Around it, the basin floor is a checkerwork of carefully managed crop plots, grain fields and terraced farms, stitched together with aqueducts and canal roads. Podlands and shallows adapted ceratinoids form the city's core population, perfectly suited to a lifestyle split between water and land, muck and mineral. Red Basin makes use of every vertical layer. The cliffs that rise around the valley are mined for coral-infused stone, long dead but still dense with calcium and trace elements. These fossilised reef strata are crushed and used as fertiliser, livestock supplement and water filter additive, supporting the city's cattle herds, crop growth and aquifer clarity. The effect is a land that feeds itself, and many others. Above the cliffs, platform villages and storage depots crown the ridgeline, connected to the basin floor by winding cart paths and lift halls. These upper zones host grain mills, smokehouses and observation towers, keeping an eye on both weather patterns and trade routes threading the continent's edge. The city centre is built around a tiered market plaza elevated just above floodline, with stone structures shaded by long awnings and supported by coral stone arches quarried locally. Building materials here reflect the land's history. Weathered shell, pink-hued limestone and ground reef tile, all polished smooth by wind and use. Red Basin is not wealthy in luxuries, but in abundance, stability and reach it rivals any coastal city. It ships livestock, grains, refined coral feedstock and fresh produce across the continent and beyond, becoming the inland supplier that makes the coast's ambition sustainable. Its pace is seasonal, it's well-throated in repetition, and its memory long. Beneath every hoofprint and plough line is a bed of coral that once lived and sang. Now it feeds a new rhythm, slow and steady, deep in the heart of the land. How do we feel about that one?
Do they have white-brimmed hats and speak in a Texan accent?
I mean, there's no reason why they can't. Oh my god, a Texan podlin.
Yes.
That's, wow. Yeah, that's a thought.
I like that thought.
Crab camels. Oh my god.
Does that mean?
I mean-
the undersea adventures.
Hassan the Undersea Adventures. Yeah. I was just thinking that, Erica. It would be like a camel spider, except it's a crab.
Oh no!
This is horrifying. Why do we keep coming up with horrors?
Because the ocean's a scary place.
The ocean is a scary place. You're right, Aiden. The podland shell is a 10-gallon hat. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any outright rejection of Red Basin. I think what I wrote made sense. I liked the idea of it being this nice little farming valley that is able to help sustain everything else we have going on the planet.
It's the bread basket.
Night Owl has a new challenge for chat. Go 1 week without inventing new horrors. I don't think that's possible. Zork comes to every stream.
Between Zork and Corbin?
Between Zork, Corbin, Ninja Turtle when he's here, and Introspective making the crabs just very crabby. I don't think we'll ever manage.
I'm sorry, but we you know what? You know what? Here's the thing. It being a whole is a matter of perspective. I want this to change your perspective on what is horrifying.
So it's just we'll have to get Night Owl to clarify. Does a horror constitute something that the Shoal would find horrifying, or just us mere humans?
Again, remember, it's not too whole if it's not made in the whole trench in the middle of the Serpentis.
If it doesn't come from the horror trench, it's not a real horror. It's just sparkling
Yes,
uncomfortableness.
Sparkling discomfort.
Sparkling discomfort, Aiden says.
There you go. There you go. Night Owl has ceded
Oh,
control
don't leave
to
things
you.
to my
Let's-
judgment. My judgment's terrible. That's why we have to have Lictor here to make sure I don't go fully off the rails. All right, let's take a look at our
Nah,
next one.
Yes, I will not make a joke on rails for it.
All right, our third major terrestrial city that doesn't move about, the Aluvan Plateau. Aluvan is a city built to listen, watch, and relay. From its perch along the Aluvan Escarpment, the series of high plateaus sheltered from erratic wind by shallow mountain teeth, the cities fan out in layers, reaching both skyward and seaward. It is a place where messages outpace fins, and where every rooftop whispers into the wind. The upper districts of Aluvan are crowned by lofty signal towers, balloon moorings, and psionic relay domes, forming a skyline of drifting shapes and woven cables. Massive tethered balloons, shaped like teardrops or petals, float in tight clusters, buoyed by warm air or controlled lift currents generated in underground vents. These serve as both navigation markers and transmission nodes, relaying coded light, signal hum, or psionic pulses. Aluvan's aerostatic identity is mirrored in its architecture. Light stone, tall windows, and parasol canopies that rustle with the steady breeze. Buildings are clustered for open flow, leaving room for liftoff and docking. Every plaza feels like it might rise with the wind. Just below the plateau, browsing cattle fields spread across wind-blown grasses, enclosed by coral-fused fencing. The livestock here feed on mineral-rich grasses swept in from the mountains, forming a small but vital export stream. The lower terraces descend in staggered switchbacks towards the sea, eventually forming a massive natural harbour carved into volcanic shelfstone. Aluvan's port is a vital point along the Silver Current trade route. Heavily trafficked, extremely organised, and constantly patrolled by rich merchant guards and weather monitors. Sorry, the word rich isn't in there. I'm being distracted by Aiden because the dogs are currently smothering him. So I'm not reading
Very good.
well.
You're doing fine.
Vital point along the Silver Current trade route, heavily trafficked, extremely organised, and constantly patrolled by merchant guards and weather monitors. Unlike the looser traffic of Echo's Reach or Umdari Span, Aluvan runs on timetables and signal clearances, each ship's arrival noted and registered with military-grade precision. Its greatest threat does not come from storm or sabotage, but from above. Sky jellies. Protective netting, beacon repellents, and long-range spotters are stationed throughout the upper ring. The city has survived more than one incursion by anchoring its balloons and shutting down non-essential transmissions until the danger drifts on. Aluvan is both watchtower and relay, a city of altitude and accuracy, where the wind carries news before the roads do, and where what you say, and how fast it travels, can shape the tides of Shoal.
I have something to add.
What's that?
Storms, lightning, fulgurite, the source of silica that they use for their windows and their electronics. They have a rich mineral sediments which contain high amounts of copper in the area, large enough for it to be conductive. Fulgurite forms along around the copper veins, mimicking the scars of those who misalign themselves with damp coral, giving the city a resonance of a city that is quick to think, but also quick to forget.
Okay, lightning scars in the land should be similar in shape to scars on people from Temps coral misuse. Build in idea of quick to... What did you say? Quick to remember and quick to forget?
Quick to think,
Quick
but
to-
quick to forget.
Thank you. Okay,
And
I
that
have that
gives,
note.
yeah, lightning. When you're on the surface, when you're operating in high winds, when you're operating a lot of high-grade communication, lightning, storms, the magnetosphere is terrifyingly active after all.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good thing to add in. I like those additional notes. That gives the city even more flavour. Of course, the fourth static city isn't in yet. That will be Tallest Perch, but I need to run it by Introspective first. So that's not here yet. Should be by next week. All right, migratory groups on the land. I have 4 on the northern continent, and I have 2 on the southern continent. So the first of the migratory groups is the Ember Line. Their migration zone is between the wind shadow foothills northwest of Red Basin and the temperate shores of Kuvatrova. The Ember Line are a nomadic group that ranges along the volcanic ridges of the northern landmass, reaping the benefits of geothermal geography. The Ember Line are experts in detecting and mining thermal salts, sulfurs and precious minerals, which they trade with Red Basin and Kuvatrova at either end of their route. Often hardy and somewhat insular, the Ember Line tend to move as one and enjoy a mix of quick agriculture in volcanic-rich soils while mining an area and gathering and hunting wildlife to otherwise support their population. I kept all of these relatively simple, so I'm just going to read all of them off and then you can let me know what you think once I've done so. I then had the Rain Split folk. Their migration zone is the rolling lowlands between Red Basin, Merinport and the east-facing cliffs. The Rain Split folk time their circuit to follow seasonal storm fronts, using complex sky-reading rituals to determine planting and harvesting times. They spread quick-sprouting crops in open plains, returning to reharvest or reclaim fields as needed. Often in dialogue with Merinport scholars, they trade weather data and avian migration charts and wear feather cloaks to signify their role as cloud watchers and seed bearers.
Oh,
The Cliff Threaders. Their migration zone is the northwestern cliffs above the crag-bound sea, including the upper coastal band west of Red Basin. Agile and daring, the Cliff Threaders live on wind-carved trails and rope-bridged precipices, moving from ledge to ledge along a known pattern. They harvest mineral-heavy coral fossils from the dry reef outcrops and harvest coral and other valuable debris washed up from the crag-bound sea. Known for their suspension tents, wind-tuned flutes, and the use of cliff hammocks, they tend to be made up primarily of laticles and are among the more gregarious of the nomadic groups. The cliff threaders are excellent at fishing the rough shores of the crag-bound sea, but also thrive on outcrops of kelps and barnacles, as well as eggs from bird nests, all of which are carefully harvested so they will be there when next they come this way.
Hell yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then the fourth of the northbound ones is the pale-horned Concord. They range between the western lowland flats near Tiers, across the open plains to Red Basin. These nomads live in saddle rigs, long mobile structures mounted on the backs of their massive herd creatures. They do not lead their animals so much as travel where they go, relying on ancient bonds, horn signal calls, and embedded coral loops tied to herd matriarchs. Rarely seen in the cities, but highly respected for their resistance to environmental pressure, the pale horns are always welcome at either end of their route, as they always arrive bearing fresh meat, cured leathers, milk, and new stock for farmers looking to diversify their stationary herds. So that's the northern continent, dudes. How do we feel about that, chat? All right.
Yes, chat.
Wilf has a good thought for Aluvan, a city that runs on communication and gossip. The wealthy get the news first, the poor live on second-hand rumour. I like that concept. That's very narratively enjoyable. Let me go and pop that on Aluvan as a note. You have a thought on that? You're coming to tell us?
Oh no.
The thought on that, yeah, I know, right? So the thought I have on that is, yeah, on the surface, the idea of the wealthy getting the news first and the poor having to rely on secondhand, that sounds like the reputation that the place would have on the surface. However, I wonder if the poor have, at least in certain circles, get the news even earlier than the wealthy by dint of having their own sort of rumor mill and underground network. In the same way, Lichter, you'll appreciate this. Nothing travels faster than light except for rumor among junior enlisted.
Yes, or bad news.
Indeed. So it would make sense because the poor will have connections to all of the working aspects of the society, the lower class aspect of the society. They will have the deep connections that they will have access to extremely rapid proliferation of information. It just might not necessarily be as reliable or verifiable as what the wealthy have. The poor may hear it first, but they get half the story because you have to pick through what is factually accurate and what is just categorically bullshit or made up rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
like I mean, think about our friend at Sherlock Holmes and his network of poor people giving him news.
Yes. I mean, one of the surest fire ways to get interesting information is going to be talk to the kitchen staff, talk to the servants that take care of the laundry and the bed chambers when you're trying to find out the, skeletons in the closet of the rich and powerful. It, the people that work behind the scenes in well-positioned places, despite being of low station, will have access to some very juicy and sensitive information. So yeah, no,
Yep.
having the poor have a faster news network, but a less reliable news network might also be a route to go.
Thank you, Eric, for quoting Terry Pratchett.
Yes. Bad news and rumour travel at the speed of dark, which is faster than the speed of light because dark is always there first.
Yeah, accurate.
And of course, his other great quote, a lie can run around the world before the truth has got its boots on, which turned up a lot in The Truth.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
not sure if that was a Pratchett quote or Pratchett quoting somebody who'd already said that and making excellent use of it. Either way, right, let's move on to our southern continent, two groups, and then we'll probably be about where we want to be for the end of stream today. So this is the southern continent. The wind-veined kin. Their migration zone is between the Aluvan Plateau, the inland wind-scoured flats, and the high trails near Thorncliffe. Equipped with large sensor sails, weather kites and signal banners, the wind-veined kin use wind flow to track terrain shifts, ecological anomalies, and the presence of aerial threats like sky jellies. They move with tall banners and portable signal towers, often working alongside Aluvan's observatories to calibrate skypath maps. Their tents are collapsible and angular, often rich in colour and pattern. The wind-vaned kin are mostly an outpost detachment from Aluvan, but their history dates back to the Forge Wars, when the group established itself following the fruit blooms between inland lakes in the interior. Today, these natural harvests are much reduced as Shoal has industrialised fully, and instead the wind-vaned kin maintain small herds that travel with them to provide extra nutrition when they are away from Aluvan. I am losing the ability to talk today.
It is getting a bit late, and we have been doing this for nearly how long now?
It's been 2.5 hours. And then the last one is the dust shell companies. Their migration zone is the southern continental edges between Tallest Perch, Shoal Steppe, and the outskirts of Thorncliffe. Less a single group and more a collection of related families and repair guilds, the dust shell companies are logistics nomads, moving with portable forges, coral-tuned welding suites and scrap conversion tanks. Their mobile encampments are modular and hexagonal, often arriving ahead of major trade flows to prepare temporary rest hubs. The dust shell companies scour the southern end of the continent for minerals, ores and gems, which they trade between the major cities on their route, while offering their forging and repair services. Their migratory route is planned to always meet the Shoal Steppe Concord when it is passing the coast, forming a network between the ocean and the land as they carry goods, skills and information with them on their way.
Can I push something here?
Absolutely.
They should also trade not only skills, they should also trade skilled personnel. Like the idea of I love this idea. It feels a little bit like the Jawas from Star Wars, but also and more interestingly, it's like a tiny entrepreneurial partnership that travels around and collects the skills of the people they need to operate and then trade them out to whatever company they meet on the way in a manner of and it speaks to a group that is almost pacifistic in nature, in that they manage to deal with trade as opposed to violence.
Yeah, and they're
To
very
nearly
much
any
about
end.
those vocational skills and the preservation and expansion thereof.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can absolutely add that in. I think that will make that a nice, well-rounded group. The dogs are currently wrestling like it is Sunday night in the middle of the living room. Are you telling me it's time, babies? Are you telling me it's time for me to get out of here and come and play with you? Even though you should all be napping after your big play at the park? Yes? Okay. Let's see what Night Owl has to say. Both Churchill and Twain are often cited as the origin of the pull its boots on quote, but it more likely originates in the 1820s, possibly from Thomas Jefferson, Jonathan Swift, or Fisher Ames. Fair enough. So Terry Pratchett was putting it to good use. I know it from Pratchett, but I had a suspicion that it predated him. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Thank you, Night Owl, for that information. All right, I think we got some good work done today. We did mostly Shoal things, other than me wittering on for half an hour at the beginning about complete nonsense. And I appreciate 38 people being here today and throwing all of your ideas into the pot, as always, and letting me know which of mine work and which don't. And, of course, Lichter for being here. I'd say Aiden as well, but he's currently playing with puppies, so he's having the best time.
Yes, he is having the best time.
So I am going to get myself out of here to go and have some lunch. If anybody has any thoughts more on the Shoal setting they want to share, we do have the channel over in the auxiliary Discord if you want to come and let me know things. And this week's homework is, in fact, Songs for Shoal. I am looking very much forward to reading introspective shanties so far. And any more you guys come up with, we will have a look at them next week and carry on with our world building. Thank you for being here. Thank you for starting the weekend with me. Have a wonderful weekend and be good to each other. And I will see you
Yes.
all on Sunday night for WBPLW. I may or may not have heard rumour that some shenanigans may occur this week, so I hope to see you all there. Anything
See
you want to
y'all.
add, Lictor?
I want to say see y'all. It's been a pleasure, and I want to see shanties. And I want to see crab shanties. I want to see all shanties.
We want to see Robot Lictor.
Yes. You know what? Yes, that's my homework.
That's your homework. Robot Lictor.
My home. Yes, I will make it
Alrighty.
all.
I just watched Sarah's Shoal
Bye.
daughter twice.
See you all next week, folks. Bye.